Okay, so I'm making something a little different than my usual. I have this shotgun here. This is a Maverick 88. I think they're labeled as security shotguns. It's supposed to be kind of a tactical type thing. To anyone who's wondering, a Maverick 88 shotgun is basically a Mossberg 500, but instead of having the safety up here, it has a trigger safety here. They're, about $100 cheaper, which is why I have it. For essentially the same gun. Originally, the heat shield wasn't on it. I added that myself. And this had a full-size stock. Again, everything this looks like now is more of my own changes I made when I bought it many years ago. Anyway, I put this, I think it's called a gooseneck pistol grip on it. And it's kind of one of those, it's silly. It's kind of fun to shoot because it's silly. I've seen people actually hit clay pigeons with it once or twice, somehow. But I decided I want to put an actual pistol grip on it, along with a heat shield, maybe a few other accessories, make it more of an actual tactical shotgun. So, I start with a heat shield and a pistol grip. The heat shield it's alright. It looks cool. And, hello kitty. The pistol grip I bought, it's one of those you're able to put an AR-15 style stock on it. Unfortunately, it's feels very cheap. Like it's like cheap plastic and just feels like junk. So I decided that I'm not going to use it because I don't like it. And also, it just doesn't quite feel right in hand. Like the finger grooves are off. I have small fingers compared to most guys. Large compared to most women. It kind of sits in between. It's annoying. So I decided that I'm going to make my own out of wood. Because, yeah, hey, why not? So, to anyone who's watched this, you've probably seen ZNA Productions' video where he does basically the same thing. Might be a lot similar to his. So if you're asking, am I basically ripping him off? Yeah, sort of. Will I make a bayonet for this one like he did? There's possibility of me doing that, although I want it to be kind of a detachable. So it'll probably more of like an actual bayonet, not an accidental shotgun. Do I take my coffee with cream and 2 sugars? No, I drink it as poured. Anyway, so I'm going to use this as my template because I already have it, so I know this is going to fit onto here because it's actually made for this. Look at the way this lines up. I don't actually think this was made for the shotgun, so that'll be whatever. But I'm going to go out to my shop and begin crafting this. Okay, so similar to ZNA Productions video, I have this 3/4 inch hickory. To those who are wondering, this is actually labeled as 1 inch hickory because when it is cut wet, it is 1 inch. Then when it's dried, it shrinks down to 3/4. It gets really confusing when trying to measure things because it's labeled as 1, but it's actually a smaller size. Apparently, they started doing that to get more out of one piece of wood or one tree. But anyway, this is what's labeled as. This is 1 inch hickory if you go to the store, but it's 3/4 inches thick. Anyway, 2 of these glued together, which would be like, 1.5 inches thick, is the same size that I need. So I'm going to glue 2 of these together. Again, similar to ZNA Productions, it's hickory. I would have used that anyway because hickory is a really good, sturdy wood. It can really take a beating and it's almost impossible to cut. So it's going to be fun actually shaping it. So I'll probably do, again, what he did and just use a drill press for a lot of it. Because jigsaws can barely cut through stuff this thick. But I'm going to start with my wood glue. This is labeled as Max. It's supposedly stronger than the actual wood itself, which in many cases it is. The Max, I think they just lowered that to make it look tougher. But anyway, put a coating on this, clamp it together. I'm talking a lot in this video. Try and get them as lined up as you can, just so it's, you don't have to worry about having less space just because the 2 boards are offset. Which is hard to do because it's slippery and it's now all over my hands. Okay, so now for this part, everything is, make sure it's on camera. everything is glued together. And we've got this solid piece, not coming apart. Now we're gonna need to basically come up with here, let me actually get on camera. Let me actually draw out the design. Now I have this, so I'm gonna kind of use it, but as you can see, this is kind of domed in there a little bit. That fits on, because your shotgun right here is kind of arched. So, again, I'm gonna do what ZNA Productions did, and kind of trace it. All right, I'll move the camera a little bit. Trace it, part of it using the actual shotgun, part of it using this, part of it is drawing my own design. I think he traced his from like an airsoft gun, which worked pretty well, but since I have an actual, pistol grip, I'm gonna use that. So, start doing this, you're gonna wanna take your stock or pre-existing pistol grip off or whatever. I already have this one on there, so I'm removing it. All right, let me see if I can. There we go. Maybe. There we go. Okay, that was a lot tougher than it should have been. For this, when I bought it, the bolt it came with wasn't the right size, so we had to make our own. This is like a grade 8 bolt, similar to what ZNA Productions did, but I don't think it was done quite as well. So it's kind of a pain to remove, but it's out now. Okay, now you kind of have your lines. Which,
Oh, yeah, I forgot my little speed square here. Line up the angles. Because of everything, this angle here, you want it to be exact. Pistol grip design. It's bad. I'm just gonna kind of outline just a bit of it so I can get an idea for how I want to do this. More than So, I don't know how much of them I should keep, but there's kind of my design.
Okay, that took way longer and it's way more complicated than I thought it would be, but it is hickory, so it's gonna be pretty tough. But now what I'm gonna do is sand down all of these little barbs, as you see. And then of course you wanna make sure this part here is as straight and as close to these lines as you can possibly get it. Very important. And I'll probably go back inside and measure against the shotgun once I do that before I do the rest of it. Because all of this stuff, you just wanna make sure, it's comfortable, but still has enough meat where it's not gonna snap when you fire a turkey round or something through it. Which I probably wouldn't recommend, but hey. Okay, so similar to what ZNA Productions did, I put the bolt I had for the old pistol grip back on a little bit because it was a pain to get off. And then I marked on here where it kind of lines up. It's kind of hard to line this up using a camera. Now that lines up there. I'm going to use that, come here, drill my hole through here. I have to clamp this in a vise and then, you know, do that. And then, of course, it's going to go from there. I can't remember the exact size these are, but I'll have to measure. I'll probably just use this bolt since it came with my this piece of crap pistol grip. Since the bolts, you know, actually made for that, I figured that's what I'll use. So I'm going to go out, figure out where my center is, and I'll probably make a small pilot hole here. Probably using like a nail or something, because in his video, it ended up going off to one side, which you can easily fix, but I prefer it not do that. So I'm going to go back out to the shop and start drilling. So after a much longer than expected, I finally got this to fit. I ended up having to drill out a little tab here. I'll leave a link to ZNA Productions video. It kind of shows how to do it a little easier. Mine, it didn't go quite so well. I ended up, my drill press is like a tiny little thing, not really meant for big stuff, and this just didn't quite work. But I got to fit with that and some chiseling and a little bit of reshaping here. But just, you know, try a little bit and it works. And much like his, mine offset just enough to where one side fits perfectly and the other side's off. I think that's because the seam here is stronger than the rest of the wood, so the center of the drill bit kind of goes off to the side a little bit. But anyway, you know, don't worry about this bolt here. I'm going to get a shorter one. I was going to use the bolt that came with the pistol grip I had, but it's going to have everything like here, and we're going to have this much holding it on. So I think I'm just going to go to the hardware store and get a bolt that goes basically to where I'll thread it into here and then go almost all the way back, so I have this whole thing holding it up instead of just, you know, a tiny bit. So now what I did is, let's see if I can move this. This shotgun's heavy with one hand. But you can see I kind of have a line drawn along there. That's where I want to sand down, so that way the, you know, back of it fits. And a couple along the trigger here. And I want to kind of have that starting from where it starts, you know, white here and then narrows out, so that way my finger can go into the trigger guard here and pull the trigger easily without, you know, having this block here. And then from there, I'm just going to take probably a flap disc on an angle grinder and kind of smooth this out, and then a belt sander and kind of even things out a little bit more. Basically, I want to make it as comfortable as I can hold while still leaving as much here as I can, because again, this thing is actually chambered to hold 3-inch shotgun shells, and I kind of want to shoot 3-inch Magnum buckshot through it, and that stuff has some recoil. So hopefully it works, but I'm definitely going to want to make sure I leave as much as possible while still being comfortable. Comfortable is also important, because if it's uncomfortable, it's going to dig into your hand when you pull that trigger, and you also don't want that. Okay, now that this is properly mounted and actually fits pretty good. My only complaint is this tab here, which is the light to rack the first shell. To those of you who, well, I'm going to assume most people know shotguns, but and that tab's a little hard to push up with your finger, or actually with your thumb. But so beyond the first shell, it's fine. But yeah, I just said but like probably 10 times there. Anyway, I like the way the shape. It feels pretty good. While I was sanding it out, of course I didn't film a lot of it just because there's a lot of sanding. But I just take this part here and put against my workbench, and just take my hand and hold it and just put all my body weight on it with basically kind of just pushing against it really hard with all my body weight as quickly as I could. I wanted to try and simulate this firing as much as I could. Again, my body weight is still probably less than, a 3-inch, Magnum buckshot, which I'm hoping this holds up to. I have some of those that I got a while back. I kind of want to shoot them out of that, but I'm somewhat afraid to. The gun, not the gat toy. But now that this is already shaped, I'm just going to take some hand sandpaper, kind of, smooth everything out a little bit. Stain it. I'm going to go with a nice ebony wood stain. It's about the darkest I can find, and the gun's black, so this is going to have to be dark. And, of course, I'm going to grab my mark on it. And then I'll probably get some linseed oil to finish it up, just because it's what I use. It works pretty good. And then we're done. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention, the bolt in the back. I literally just did what ZNA Productions did, took a grade 8 bolt, rounded it out, and cut a notch in it. And this is a 1/2-inch hole. So sometimes you just go with what works. Okay, now that everything got stained and linseed oiled, this is probably the best stain I've ever had with hickory. I've never had a ton of luck with staining hickory, but this turned out pretty well. So I'm going to go and I'll basically mount this on the shotgun. Project's done. Ready to go play with it. Now back up, Stacey. Okay, so the last 2 tests you've seen, or the one at the beginning of the video and the one you just saw, I used just like 2 1/4 or 2 3/4 inch target load, nothing special. The only other things I could find were 3-inch Magnum buckshot. So I basically went from some of the lightest stuff you can get to one of the heaviest. Let's hope this doesn't blow up on me. That was fun. Let's do it again. So, over here we have the Fairway brand grape soda. Not sponsored by Fairway brand or grape soda. It was just the cheapest stuff I could find. It's, you kind of see it tore it open a little bit. I think it just got peppered so many times, it's kind of ripped open. And this was the root beer version of it with the high brass 3-inch buckshot, which, man, that kicked. And it's, yeah, it's pretty well tore up. This one more just popped and laid, where it was shot. This one I had to go and find. I was closer to this one when I shot it, so that's the difference between these rounds. And yeah, make sure you hold on. That had some kick to it. I definitely want to play with that some more though.